Hello, everyone, and it's good afternoon from here in Glasgow, Scotland. But I'm joined by my co-conveners and students on this year's double degree master's programme in Reparatory Justice, which is offered by the University of the West Indies and the University of Glasgow. Are on the other side of the Atlantic, and so it's good morning to them early in the morning. So I'm so grateful that they were able to join us today. And we're here to talk about this innovative, exciting and significant program, a program that aims to address some of the most pressing issues of today and is working with new cohort of leaders in the field of reparatory justice. So to get us started, I think I should ask everyone to introduce themselves before we're going to take on your questions. We're going to talk a little bit about the program, about the experiences of running it and being on it in this first year, and kind of what's next for this new and exciting field. So I'll start with Tara. Do you want to introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself last.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning from Barbados. My name is Dr. Tara Inniss. I teach on the program, but I'm also one of the co-conveners for the MSc MA in Reparatory Justice. I teach in the Department of History and Philosophy, and that's at the University of the West Indies Gilmorehill Campus here in Barbados. So I welcome you to this session, and we look forward to your questions.
Thanks, Tara. And next on my screen, I can see Fair. Do you want to introduce yourself to the...
Hi, I'm Maria Fernanda, but you can call me Fer. I'm a student in the master's program. I'm from Puerto Rico, and I came here to Glasgow, and it's been a really beautiful experience. So looking forward to answering your questions.
Thanks so much, Fer. Janelle?
Hi, good morning, everyone from Jamaica. My name is Janelle Owens, and I am a student at the University of the West Indies. And I'm taking this master's program from that campus, and it's been a pleasure so far. I really look forward to answering any questions from prospective students and those who are interested in the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. And Ramona?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ramona Biholar. I'm a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Law at the University of the West Indies on Mona campus in Jamaica. I'm also a teacher in the program and also one of the co-conveners together with Dr. Whyte and Dr. Inniss. Very happy to be here and to participate in this event today. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks so much, Ramona. And it's still so exciting for me that we kind of bring together these three very different places, Scotland, Jamaica, and Barbados, into this conversation. So I'm Dr. Christine Whyte, and I teach global history here at Glasgow. So for me, it's been incredibly exciting to be connected into such an international program that's drawing on perspectives from all these different places, that's thinking about difficult questions from different locations around the Atlantic world. I'm looking forward to hearing all your questions about the content of the program, what it's like, the campus life in these three different campuses, and how we bring this together. I wanted to start, though, by talking a little bit about the teaching and the content of what we call the core courses. So the program has 4 core compulsory courses that the entire cohort of students takes, 2 in the first semester and 2 in the second semester. 2 of those are offered by the University of Glasgow and 2 by the University of the West Indies. I'll go first to Dr. Ramona Biholar to talk about her course that she offers in the first semester from the Mona campus in Jamaica. What's your course like, Ramona? What kind of topics are the students tackling?
Thank you, Christine. I teach in this master program the course entitled Slavery, Conflict, and Human Rights, which is a core course. And this course introduces students to the human rights dimensions of reparatory justice. One of my main specialty is international human rights law, so I'm particularly excited to direct and teach in this course. So overall, we discuss the human rights framework that condemn and protect against slavery, colonialism, and discriminatory practices associated with it today. And particularly, we explore possibilities and limitations of the regional and international human rights frameworks to support demands for reparations. In international human rights law, we are quite optimistic, but also we have to admit also the challenges that the framework still present when it comes to reparations for slavery and past injustices. What I'm also excited about with this course is that it exposes students to different expertise, to different academics and practitioners who will join in teaching the course. So for example, just from last year, we had leading activist and researcher and writer on reparatory justice, Professor Lynn Shepard, who is also the director of the Center for Reparations Research, but also the chair of the Committee on Elimination of Racial Discrimination, the United Nations monitoring body. Also, we had former members of the UN Working Group on People of African Descent and members of Caribbean National Reparation Commission. So I hope it's an exciting course for prospective students, and I'm looking forward to teaching it again this year.
Thanks so much. It sounds amazing to be able to kind of engage with the contemporary issues and the people who are sort of actively working on those issues right now. At the same time that students take Dr. Biholar's course from the University of Glasgow, they take my course, which is called Reparations Now. An ironic title, of course, because what it's about is a kind of historical exploration of the movement, different movements for reparations. And what I try to do through it is sort of using the expertise of historians here at Glasgow is to situate students kind of in the Scottish debates, which about reparatory justice, about the case for reparations, which are, you know, pretty unique to Scotland. Scotland has an unusual, let's say, international legal position. And also in the kind of community work and activism that's being done in Glasgow, around the university and around the city, before we look at more international examples of the history of movements for reparations and different topics. I'm hoping Farah and Janelle didn't find this like bringing together the contemporary and the historical too difficult, but the idea was to give that kind of that sense of the history and the long tale, the longue durée of these struggles for justice and how they've led us to what Dr. Biholar is dealing with, which is like, what are the frameworks that we have right now to address those issues? So yeah, feel free to jump in, Farah and Janelle, if you want to correct me on anything you want to say, like, hey, actually, I found this course to be much more focused on. And I'm going to turn to Dr. Tara Inniss, though, to talk about her course, Pedagogy Reparatory Justice.
Hi, good morning again. So we teach a course called the Pedagogy of Reparatory Justice, myself and Dr. Rodney Worrell, who both of us teach in the Department of History and Philosophy at Gilmorehill Campus. And the course was really conceptualized to bring students kind of closer into the discussions around the CARICOM 10-point plan for reparatory justice, into some Caribbean perspectives on reparatory justice, the kind of origins of the Caribbean movement. So yes, it's still situated in a bit of a historical perspective, but we also wanted to be quite critical in parts of the CARICOM 10-point plan, and we were so pleased and challenged by students who continue to interrogate some of the underpinning philosophies of the CARICOM 10-point plan. But because there is a focus on education, there is a focus on public engagement, it's really to understand how to talk about the historical struggles to contemporary audiences so that they become more engaged with the topic of reparatory justice without just thinking of it as, which is often the case in the Caribbean, you know, somebody handing out money on the corner to everybody who has suffered or the trauma of this history. It is not necessarily about that kind of approach. I mean, that could be one approach, but it's not the kind of approach that's necessarily being taken by leading thinkers in the CARICOM reparatory justice movement. So it's just about thinking about through some of those issues and how to communicate those ideas to the public. I'll leave it there, but I'm sure Fair and Janelle have their own perspectives on their participation in these courses.
Thanks so much, Tara. It's fascinating, and it's part of the sort of skills that students hopefully will be equipped with to kind of take out into the post-graduation when they're then advocating and working for justice in whatever field they choose to work in. There have been some questions emailed in and to do with the kind of practicalities of the teaching across the Atlantic and in these different locations. And perhaps it'd be good if Janelle, if you're able to talk a little bit about your experience of the practical sort of the practicalities of the teaching, how the online and hybrid teaching works, how contact with us and your supervisor is done.
Yes, sure thing. Well, first I'll say I've taken courses with each of these professors so far, and I find that the curriculum, it really covers like everything that you would want to know about reparatory justice. It is a very wide sweeping degree, and like all of the courses kind of fit together, and I'm able to experience that even though I'm taking the program part-time. And as for the practicality with interacting with students from different campuses and professors from different campuses, I find it to be very convenient, and I haven't had any issues with it at all. It's been just as good, if not better, than my undergraduate experience, which took place in person for the most part. I feel as though I've been able to form close relationships with students like Maria and others who I see on the Zoom calls when I have lessons. And the scheduling also works out because Glasgow, when they're having classes in the afternoon, we in the Caribbean tend to be there in the morning, and it just all works out. And like I said, it feels like a community, even though we're not face to face. And I have the option of being there in person for courses that are at UMONA. And the University of Glasgow students also have to be there online when, for example, Dr. Biholar is delivering her course from the Mona campus. And so there's a nice balance. It doesn't really feel like there's an uneven split between who is delivering the courses from the different campuses. And that's another thing that I really like about the program, given that it's online and everything. It's really practical, really convenient, very informative, and you're definitely not missing out on that campus life energy and the camaraderie that happens between students.
That's so wonderful to hear, Janelle. It's really, it's really, really fantastic, and it's so true. I do feel like we've only run this program this first year, and I feel like we're a community of scholars working together towards something really important. Fair, is it okay if I turn to you to ask you about interaction between the students and what's life like on the because you're on the Glasgow campus, and I'm going to set a ground rule. Okay, you can only mention rain 1 or 2 times when you're talking about life on the Glasgow campus. So how's it been for you?
It's been completely wonderful, despite the fact that I am not very fond of technical relations or technology. I thought that perhaps it might be a bit isolating because it was online, and I'm the only one from the Caribbean who is here, but I've been received with open arms, and I've created a wonderful community in Glasgow. And like Janelle, I feel like we've created bonds even when we cannot see each other physically, which has been very nice because we check up on each other and we talk a lot, and it's just been really beautiful. We also have this little machine called the Owl, and he looks at us and he projects us in the screen when we are in the physical classroom we have here in Glasgow to meet for our courses. So this little machine facilitates a good classroom, I would say. So yeah, it's been really nice. Obviously, you have some hassles because it's the first year of the program, and you have 3 different institutions, so there will be some communication troubles and whatnot. It's just part of the process. But yeah, I feel I'm extremely grateful to have come here, and now sadly I don't want to leave, despite of me being a Caribbean creature accustomed to warm weather, and Glasgow not being that at all. So that is how much I've liked it.
Glasgow's warm in spirit, if not in actual air temperature. Thanks so much, Fair. We've got a question from Carla, actually, about coming to Glasgow and about how it is then to participate in the University of the West Indies classes. And you've answered a little bit of that, Fair. So we have a classroom that we use for the core classes, so the students that are here on campus can meet there. And as Fair said, our friends, the 4th convener of the program, the OWL, which is a device for sort of online meetings, allows people to sit around the table and for everyone to be able to see each other, facilitates this online connection. So if you're connecting in from home or from a classroom at the University of the West Indies, Mona or Gilmorehill campuses, you're sort of connected to this classroom in Glasgow, where the Glasgow-based students gather. And so, I mean, I think it offers, as Janelle said, that kind of flexibility with the kind of ideal combination, with still the interaction between students. So it's not a program that's delivered wholly online. Because students are based at the different campuses, so they are able to take advantage of those campus facilities and the clubs, societies, the events that are going on there in person, while having this online connection to the cohorts of students in the other places, and also importantly connections to the academics, to the visiting speakers, to the activists. And the people who are engaged with the program in all these different places.
Can I just say quickly, like you also get your 2 emails from the 2 institutions. You get access to both online libraries. Like you get 2 Moodle platforms. Like you get everything from both universities, and you have the option, if you are in Glasgow and you cannot attend physically to the class, like you can join online. You have that option. So as Janelle mentioned, it's very convenient in that sense, like if you work or if you have other responsibilities. So just pointing that out.
Yeah, we're here to make it as open as possible, of course, to people to join. And so what we're here to do is facilitate that community, I guess, and facilitate learning and engagement in this important topic. I wanted to ask Tara and Ramona a little bit kind of on that subject, a little bit about the kind of facilities that are available at the Mona campus and at the Gilmorehill campus. Here at Glasgow, as Farah already mentioned, we've got got an incredible library, a great deal of which is available for online use, but there's also the physical library space. We have a university museum. We have access to, of course, what Glasgow City has to offer in terms of museums, galleries, and archives. And importantly, I think in Glasgow, there's also got this long tradition and history of around a lot of different subjects that make Glasgow a really exciting place to study preparatory justice. But yeah, Tara, at the Cave Hill campus, can you give us a little insight into what it's like?
Well, the Cave Hill campus, of course, is on the island of Barbados, not very far away, as nothing is very far away from the beach and from the coastline. So we overlook Bridgetown and part of the West Coast. I think students who are enrolling or thinking of registering at Cave Hill or citing themselves at Cave Hill would be very pleased with the kinds of facilities that we have, the accommodation that we have for postgraduate students on campus and off campus. A lot of the amenities that are available to students. So we have the library, and the library system, as Fer had mentioned, is equally as available to students in Glasgow online and to our own students cited at Cave Hill. We also have a number of kind of resident scholars who have been working in this area for some time, and obvious connections to not only to national reparations programs, but also to people who are working in the region. So those connections are kind of deep and wide, and we have been leveraging those in the classroom spaces. Unfortunately, this year, we didn't have anybody cited physically at Cave Hill campus, but we can provide very similar classroom environments to Glasgow. We have all the same technology. So as long as there is a cohort or quorum of students who will be wanting to be at Cave Hill, they will find that everything that has been described for Glasgow should be in place at Cave Hill, almost without any hesitation. And beyond that, I mean, I think we have a very vibrant postgraduate student life that's somewhat integrated with our undergraduate student life. We have a lot of part-time students at Cave Hill. So I think these questions around flexibility and online learning and hybrid learning are things that all of our students are already aware of, and they're ways of kind of mitigating maybe some of the isolation that students might feel if they enter study at Cave Hill. We have a very vibrant postgraduate student association, spaces for postgraduates to conduct their research, writing, in a solitary environment, but we also have very active seminar programs. I think that could be drawn from the Department of History and Philosophy, but also from cultural studies and many other lectures and intellectual endeavors that are happening on campus that I think students will really benefit from. So we would be very pleased to welcome students to the Cave Hill campus in Barbados. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tara. Yeah, it's an incredible wealth on offer. It's at Cave Hill plus beach. Ramona, at the Mona campus, I know there's so much going on, and in it itself, the campus has an incredible history.
Yes, thank you, Christine. First, the University of the West Indies campus on Mona in Jamaica is the founding campus of this regional multinational university that is serving at least 17 Caribbean countries. And what is very special about it that it's not overseeing the beach like the Cave Hill campus is at the foothills of the Blue Mountains. So you are going to see the mountains, a very beautiful site. But it's located on a historical site. It's a constant reminder of the sugar plantation history. And it's a symbol of empowerment and overcoming of injustices through education and resilience. There is this, the ruins of an aqueduct from the mid-1700s that are crossing the campus. So that is that reminder of the rich history of this particular site. There is much more to say about this campus in terms of its history, but in terms of studying reparatory justice, I think it's particularly important to be situated here and to also be in touch in that physical way with the history of the campus. And of course, like in Barbados and in Glasgow, the Mona campus will host academics, researchers, and practitioners who are dedicating their work on reparatory justice. So it's not only about the researchers, but also those who are working actively on national reparation commissions who are based here in different departments and faculties. The Center for Reparations Research is located in Mona, and I think that's particularly important for students. Now, of course, technology will allow all students to get in touch with teachers and join the events that the center or other relevant departments will organize. But to have the physical proximity of the center is particularly important. And of course, access to the libraries and the archives, the special collections that Mona offers. But also in Jamaica, for instance, Jamaica hosts the Spanish Town archives that are important for this type of research. Like Cave Hill and like Glasgow, we have the University Museum that is also good for students in this master program to visit. And beyond the study in this master on reparatory justice per se, I would really encourage students to be part of the rich campus life and join online and in-person events. For instance, the Mona campus offers each year the Bob Marley annual lecture, which is very exciting. It hosts the Global Reggae Conference. And of course, linked to that, the campus offers this vibrant life through arts and sports opportunities. So one example is the Philip Sherlock Center for Creative Arts that provides really rich cultural life for the campus community, but also for the wider community, the public. So there are theater evenings, exhibitions, varied cultural events during the academic year. So it's really an exciting place to be located at, and the campus itself offers accommodations for both undergrad and graduate students. So I would encourage students who are coming to Mona and studying this program to actually reside on campus and be part of this rich life of the campus. And now more and more outside of COVID, more events are being organized, including the carnival. I mean, it's an exciting time, especially for students, to be part of the carnival in Jamaica that is getting more prominence. And of course, like on the other campuses, we will have an international student office that will help students, particularly the international students, with different practicalities and logistics. Office of the Graduate Studies and Research, who will also have some funding advice for graduate students and prospective for the after master life. So yes, I would say that it's an exciting and beautiful campus to be located on, and would be best for students to live on campus, enjoy the rich campus life, grab every opportunity for discussions, exchange of ideas offered through public lectures, seminars, symposia, access the libraries, and also join student societies and clubs, such as the Panorhythm Steel Orchestra, or maybe some sporting societies.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ramona, for that vivid description of the campus life. I mean, in this program, we deal with a lot of really serious topics, things that can be distressing. They can be really difficult to face on. That's part of the challenge of working together and supporting each other to think about these past injustices. But the program is also, I think, and that kind of came out in what you were talking about there, it's also about celebrating the resilience of the creative ways that people found to survive and yeah, and thinking about how we can move forward into a new transformed world where we sort of live in joy and community. We've had a question from Adana online asking about the possibility of pursuing a PhD following the master's program. And I would say a master's program like this, it's a really good preparation in terms of reading and critical thinking for preparing for PhD study. And we're also here at all three campuses to talk you through and guide you through the process of applying for a PhD and applying for PhD funding. So you benefit from like thinking about the PhD process in these different locations. And we've all had kind of different experiences of doing the PhD and can bring that to that guidance. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say it's great preparation for PhD study. At the end of the master's program, after you've completed the courses, you engage in a bit of independent research work. And so you write a research paper, a dissertation based in your own original independent study and research. And that as well can be a space, an opportunity to think through what you would like to do and what would be possible for the PhD. I'd like to sort of ask Fer and Janelle a little bit about the importance and the significance of place. And so, Janelle, you're in Jamaica and from Jamaica. What do you think the significance is of having this program located in Jamaica as a partnership?
Well, to start, I think it's really appropriate that Jamaica hosts one of the campuses that's starting this program, given our colonial history and also our history of resisting against colonialism. Like Dr. Biholar mentioned, the grounds itself of the Mona campus is a reminder of that history, and it's quite a feat for this program to now be offered in that same space. But really and truly, I think that it's something that could be taught anywhere and should be taught everywhere. So it's great that it's accessible to students from around the world, because this history of chattel slavery is something that has impacted so many people from so many different countries, and two of the three campuses are very nice, warm, tropical environments to study something that's so that can be so emotionally charged. And I'm really grateful for the insight that has come from the classes that I did from the Glasgow campus, like specifically the course Seeking Refuge from Slavery gave some really interesting insights on the unique ways that people resisted against slavery, not just in Glasgow, but wherever there was slavery. And yeah, I think it's great that it's happening in Barbados, in Jamaica, in Glasgow, but the really great thing is that it's accessible to students, potential students from around the world.
Thanks so much, Janelle. Yeah, Jamaica holds such an important and in public awareness, I think, of resistance to slavery as well. The Jamaican Maroons might be globally the most famous group in kind of public consciousness, and of course that tradition of resistance and rebellion, continued up through into the post-colonial period. And I wanted to ask this, say exactly the same question to Fer, but to ask about Puerto Rico and where you see Puerto Rico fitting into these broader international debates about reparatory justice, has being on the Glasgow campus exchanging with people in Jamaica and in Barbados. Has that changed your perspective on Puerto Rico? And yeah.
Yeah, it certainly has. I came here well aware that this program was perhaps more focused in this English-speaking Caribbean because of the history between Scotland and Jamaica and Barbados and whatnot. But still, I found that obviously there were a lot of similarities with the Spanish Empire, as well as with the French or with the Dutch and all those who are in the Caribbean. And even though that it was centered more in this, there was still a place to talk about these histories in comparison to other empires. And my research is more focused in the Spanish Empire, and there was still some courses and lectures that covered this. So it was a space where we could talk about this, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And of course, you have the leeway to research whatever you want, no? But definitely the course and the conveners and the lectures and everyone supply you with enough, if not more, knowledge than you could possibly want in order for you to conduct your research in a very fruitful and interdisciplinary way. I think one of the best things about this program is that because, for example, I come from comparative literature, so I come from arts and humanities, but although I studied history for a bit, but anyways, you get arts and humanities, you get law, as Dr. Biholar mentioned, you get history, and you can, nurture with yourself with all these knowledge and comparative analysis and whatnot, and make your own project. And it's really nice. And it's really nice as well because the people in the cohort itself, they are from different countries, different backgrounds, and the lecturers that come. So you get perspectives from so many people. It's so rich conversations. Like, honestly, I wouldn't change that for anything. So yeah, and I came here, although knowing that, but because of Puerto Rico's extremely questionable sovereignty, I found that yes, it is a program. It was a program for me, and it was exactly what I aspired it to be. So I hope that answers something.
Yeah, thanks so much and I mean, you brought up a really important point about being able to pursue your research interests, right? Like the courses provide the scaffolding. So I mean, we have a 4th core course, which is in research methods, which I teach with Dr. Erin Jesse here at the University of Glasgow, who's an expert on genocide studies and post-genocide reconciliation. And that's really a course in how to do research. How do you write an ethics application, think through the ethical implications of your research? How do you conduct an oral history interview? How do you approach an archive when that archive is the archive of violence being done to marginalized communities? And so that course is kind of designed to give you the tools to then pursue your research interests. Or if you come in with a very broad interest in reparatory justice, maybe you come in, you're not sort of thinking about PhD, you're not thinking about what you're doing afterwards, you're sort of wanting to explore broadly across the topic. And as Ferris said, like, there's a lot of different disciplinary perspectives, a lot of different case studies are presented over the course of the 2 semesters. And when you find something that grabs you and takes your interest, then that's the thing that we can support you to pursue and study in. So it's not that you have to come in with a fully fledged, thought out research proposal. It's also an opportunity, a master's program, it's an option to explore lots of different options. Sometimes people change their mind halfway through the year because they discover something new that they never knew about before. And that can also be really exciting. We've got another question online from Carla about suggestions for reading material. And so I'm going to pose that question to Ramona and Tara as like suggestions, but I'd also like to ask Farah and Janelle, but something that you've read this year that you just loved. So I'll start with Tara and Ramona, and then I'll go to Janelle and Farah. So Tara, do you have a suggestion for Carla? Something, a must read on your list?
Well, I think any discussion in this area could be very well grounded in Hilary Beckles, professor, our vice chancellor of the University of the West Indies. Hilary Beckles, a very well-known historian and scholar and activist in reparations. And I think if you start with Britain's Black debt is a really good starting point. It's a good entry point into some of the arguments for claims, reparations claims in the British Caribbean or the former British Caribbean. And I think it's a good starting point, but it allows you to have a space to look at other perspectives and even other perspectives more critically as well. But it's a good starting point. And I should say here too, is that I think we've been working together as a teaching team to streamline and to make each other aware of the course readings on each of our syllabi, making sure that we, especially for next year, make students aware very early of what course readings are. And we're also very sensitive to the fact that a number of the students who are coming onto this program might not have any background in history, in reparatory justice, in activism. And we work with those students to kind of hone and develop not only the skills, but also the kind of grounding in the scholarship. So if you feel like you feel fully prepared to undertake this program, it shouldn't necessarily be a block to you doing very well, because I think we're working with students to make sure that they have that foundation even coming into the program. And if they don't have it, that they're going to develop it very quickly. So I'll turn over to Dr. Biholar.
Thank you, Dr. Inniss. I will just add to the seminal work of Professor Hilary Beckles, Walter Rodney. I would recommend students or prospective students or those who are just interested in the topic to reach out to Walter Rodney's writings. Eric Williams, Slavery and Capitalism, some of the chapters we are discussing in the course on slavery, conflict and human rights. And from a legal perspective, or from a human rights perspective, there are a number of important texts and also some reports coming out of the United Nations system. But I would just highlight for now the third world approaches to international law scholarship, which is a methodology and also a concept that can be used for reparatory justice. And I'm looking forward to discussing more about this with students this coming semester.
Thanks so much, Ramona. So, Janelle, can you think of a read that's particularly inspired you that you would recommend to a student coming onto the program?
For sure. So I think this reading really demonstrates the kind of insight that you would be getting as a student in this program. It's called The Great Escape of William and Ellen Craft from Slavery. And I had no idea that things like this were happening during the transatlantic slave trade. I did not know that cross-dressing was a tactic that Black people would use to use gender and race to their advantage, or gender and shade, like skin complexion, to their advantage. And it's quite the drama. And in my undergraduate experience, I didn't take many history courses or many African studies courses. I come from a background of computer science, and I feel like I fit into the program just fine. Not having much of a background, or not having much of an academic background, that's directly related to reparatory justice. But that specific reading, The Great Escape of William and Ellen Craft, is a great example of just the expert knowledge that you would be attaining by joining the program. It's really interesting.
It's one of my favorites too, as you know. Fair, you recommend a reading?
Yes. There are many, but I will say two. Reconsidering Reparations by Olufemi Taiwo was really, really beautiful. They talk about how repair work is quite literally making another world. And In the Wake by Christina Sharp on Blackness and Being changed me. She talks about doing wake work, which I interpret to be repair work, no? And yeah, just about what it means to live in the wake, which is in the climate of anti-Blackness in the afterlife of slavery, And that is all I will say.
I know there's so many more. It's always difficult to kind of narrow it down to one or two. You start, as soon as you think of one, you start thinking of more and more. When I was trying to think about it myself, I thought of maybe Anna Julia Cooper's A Voice from the South, which for me was sort of really inspiring in the way that Anna Julia Cooper kind of brings forward this notion of Black feminism and sort of thinking about the positionality, the marginalization of Black women in the 19th century American South. But she's also sort of thinking about Indigenous peoples in the Americas. She's sort of bringing forth all these ideas and arguments that we think of as perhaps quintessentially modern and 21st century, but she was thinking these ideas and writing these tracks. Well, I mean, almost getting on for 100 years ago, 80 years ago, and I was also always very impressed with her sort of range across, because she also wrote about the Haitian Revolution. And she did all this while being a sort of migrant student working different places across the Atlantic. And the other book I'd recommend for sort of thinking historically about reparatory justice is Ariella Azuli's Unlearning Imperialism, which for me I find very inspiring to sort of think about what academics could do, what heritage professionals can do, what archivists can do, like what are the practical steps towards dismantling systems of imperialism. So within our own kind of collective shared memories and memorializations. And so I wanted to close off with a question, perhaps a kind of more cheerful question, and that's sort of thinking about what's going to happen this summer, and looking forward to the research portion of the degree. So I know, Janelle, you're studying part-time, and so you're going to be thinking about your dissertation project next year. But I was wondering, Fer, if you want to say a few words about the research you've already been doing. And I know you're gonna be super modest, and you're gonna say like, oh, I've not done anything. You're gonna do the things students always do. But I've heard your ideas, and they're fascinating. And I think it would be really inspiring for people to hear like a little bit about what you're gonna be doing for your dissertation this summer.
So, to tell the long story short, I wanted to do a very big thing, as always happens. Now it needs to be a smaller thing. The big thing was going into the compensation scheme that, in Puerto Rico, when slavery was abolished, as well as in the British Empire, you had to pay slave owners for loss of property. I've been able to find some records and some lists and whatnot. This is not something that's been fully explored in the Spanish Empire in comparison to the British, no? So whereas you might have a database, for example, University of College of London's database on slave owners who benefited from this in the UK, there is not the same for Spain. And there is also one for the French, but it is in French, so you have to know French. Anyways, that's too big. I cannot do that in the summer. So now I'm thinking more about place and memory. If you would coastal poetics, like how perhaps the beach being the place where every calamity has come ashore, but also a site of liberation and freedom, and how it is the way that we can connect with this African diaspora, because Puerto Rico does not think of themselves like, in terms of racial or cultural identity, the African identity is at the bottom, no? The Spanish has always been prioritized, and then indigenous. So how can you perhaps trace some archives in coasts? I don't know how I will do this yet, don't ask. And how you can reconnect with that African diaspora identity. Somehow that is what will happen. But people are doing this back home. They are doing ceremonies to honor the people who arrived in ships, the enslaved people, and they occur in the beach. The two that have happened. So people are working on memory and space and place and how to, because we don't have monuments dedicated to Black history, you know. So this is quite interesting. It's quite new. There's a lot to do and a lot to research. So I am so sure that you will find something to do, whatever your interests are.
And this kind of public history heritage work, sort of connecting with communities' consciousness of their own past, it's so important and so vital for the project of repair, which I think is what connects all of us as a community, and the different fields in which we work. And so we're almost out of time, I'm afraid. It actually went by super quickly once you start getting into the conversations about the program. So it's I think it's just left for me to say, if there's any final comments, then please jump in now. But if there's not, then I just want to thank this community of scholars and activists and creatives that we've managed to create over the past year, and I'm looking forward to that community expanding in September with the new cohort of students. If you've got any questions, we've got one last question coming in online now. And so Carla's asking, Farah, are you going to stay in Glasgow to complete your dissertation?
Well, I am. I believe that my student visa allows me to leave the country for 3 weeks, and if it's more than that, I think I would have to ask some sort of permission. You can leave if you intend to do research elsewhere. Right now, I've been able to access the archives that I've needed from Puerto Rico virtually, and I have people there that, in any case something happens, they could digitalize them for me. So I've not found the necessity, because it's quite expensive, you see, to fly there yet. So I will be remaining here, but it is your option to do it, I believe, wherever you might wish to do it.
Yes, and we can always help. I mean, the advantage of having the kind of connected program across two different institutions is to have access just to a wider network of academics, archivists, librarians who can help with those kind of research queries, those things you need to get access to on one of the other campuses for research purposes. So yeah, thanks so much for the questions and the engagement, and thanks so much, friends and colleagues, for this wonderful discussion. I feel like, I feel really inspired about this program. Every time I think about it or talk about it with someone, I get this kind of rush of energy again, both intellectually, but also emotionally. So thanks all. Have a good morning and a good afternoon and a good evening as well. Thank you for joining us.